Good evening, folks. It's time for another installment of Storytime with Nick. So today's story is entitled By Pure Luck. So this story takes place between 2 days. Sorry, that's Moon's Tale. So this takes place on October 27th and October 28th of 2012. Now, if any of you are from my area, which is the Northeast New Jersey area and the downstate New York area, you're going to know why those days are significant. Because October 29th, 2012, we got Hurricane Sandy. So, I believe this was on a weekend, but I know I was there for both days. So, October 27th, we're at Stop&Shop. Nothing out of the ordinary, we just needed some groceries. Back in the day, Stop&Shop was the only store that we had here, and we didn't really think much of it. Well, at least my mom didn't, because there was ShopRite, but ShopRite, at this point in the game, our local ShopRite was actually really, really small and didn't offer too much. So if we wanted anything, we'd go to Stop&Shop. So we go to Stop&Shop, and nothing's out of the ordinary. My mom says, I'm going to get some gas because we're kind of low. So we get some gas. Nothing's out of the ordinary still. We stop on the Shell gas station because this Shell gas station was perfectly positioned on our way home. To get from Stop&Shop to home, we'd have to go over this little bridge that was over some train tracks. We'd take the street down. We turn off to the left at some street, and we were home. But on the way there was a Shell gas station, and it so happened that most times that we went to Stop&Shop, we would need gas afterwards because it was usually every week that we needed gas. So we go there, and we get gas. Nothing's out of the ordinary. Everything's fine. On the radio, they're talking about what a problem Sandy might be because I think it was just about to make landfall, wherever the hell it made landfall at that point. So we're there. We're listening to the radio. And the guy says, okay, your tank's full. That'll be, I think it was like $40. It was a typical day. You really wouldn't think much of it in the list of days. So the next day comes around, and I forget what we were doing that day, but we were out, and we saw lines, miles long lines, from every gas station in town, of which there are several. These lines were so long, there's Moon. So these lines were usually, they were taking up entire lanes of traffic. As in, most of the roads, most of the main streets in my town are 2 lanes in each direction. Parking lane, 2 driving lanes, and 2 parking lanes and a driving lane. Parking lane, 2 driving lanes, 2 driving lanes, and a parking lane. Yeah. So these lines for gas were taking up entire 2-way streets in each direction. There were so many cars that these lines were going into the next town. And I'm not talking just the gas stations that were at the edge of my town. I'm talking gas stations that were midtown. And some of the gas stations at the end of town had lines all the way up to the other end of town, which were 3-mile long lines, is what I'm saying. And the gas stations were tapped out so quickly. I think by about the afternoon, every gas station in town was tapped out completely. And these lines, from what I had heard, had started forming at about 6 in the morning. So the town was out of gas at that point. And my mom had realized, by pure luck, we needed gas the day before everything went to shit. Because it turned out that having a car was actually useful. Because, a little side story, whenever we took showers, because the power was out for about a week, whenever we took baths or showers, we would actually go to the car to dry our hair. So it was good that the car was completely gassed up because we would use the heater in the car to dry our hair. And to warm up sometimes because the house kind of got a little cold because there was no power and no heat. But at least we had good seals on the windows because those were renewal Anderson windows. So, just by pure luck, we needed gas the day before everyone needed gas. The people I felt most sorry for that day were the people that were online to get gas because they actually needed gas, and not just people who were buying gas in a frenzy because they needed to load up their generators and load up all 10 of their cars and load up their neighbors' cars and load up their cousins' cars and load up their kids' cars because everybody needed gas. And by 6 in the morning, the town was just full of people who needed gas. I'm willing to bet that half the cars that were on these lines weren't even from our town, because on one end of us is New York, and the other end is one of the largest towns in my county. So I'm willing to bet that half the people on those lines, if not even more, were from other towns because their gas stations were probably emptied just as soon as ours were. So we had enough gas to get through the hurricane week and the next week after, because there was really nowhere to go because everything was closed because there was a fucking hurricane. So the gas lasted us through the power outage, and we got power back, and life seemed to return to normal. Um, I heard plenty of generators running around town, and I saw people siphoning their cars of gas so they could fuel their generators and all that. My next door neighbors did that on both sides. It was a pain in the ass to have to listen to those things running day and night, night and day. Because, screw your neighbors, you just gotta look out for yourself. Even if it means being a total dick about it. So, that's gonna wrap this one up. Thanks for watching, folks, and I hope you enjoyed.